Does asteroid dust form new planetary rings? Imagine tiny space grains drifting through the solar system, constantly moving and bumping into each other. You might wonder if these tiny particles could somehow create new rings around planets. Well, let's explore how planetary rings really form and whether asteroid dust plays a role. First off, asteroid dust itself doesn't directly turn into new planetary rings. The main material that makes up rings around planets are larger pieces like ice chunks and rock fragments. These can come from moons that break apart due to impacts or tidal forces from the planet. Sometimes leftover debris from the early days of the solar system also contributes. So, the dust particles are not the primary building blocks of rings but are part of the smaller debris that can gather in space. Dust in the solar system often gets trapped into rings because of a planet's gravity. These rings are made of tiny grains that are usually the remains of asteroid collisions or cometary material. For example, dust rings have been seen around the Sun at the orbits of Earth, Venus, and Mercury. These dust rings form because the gravity of the planets pulls in the dust, keeping it in a stable orbit. But these are not the same as the big, bright rings you see around planets like Saturn. Now, in the early days of the solar system, dust played a big role in forming planets. Dust particles gathered in certain areas where temperature changes caused materials to condense or turn into solid objects. These areas, called dust traps, created rings of small building blocks called planetesimals. Over time, these grew into planets. So in a way, dust can form ring-like structures during planet formation, but these are different from the rings we see around planets today. To sum up, asteroid dust does not directly create new planetary rings. Instead, larger debris from moons breaking apart or leftover material within a planet's Roche limit forms the rings we see now. Dust does form rings around the Sun and planets, but these are made of tiny particles that orbit due to gravity. Early in the solar system, dust gathered into rings that helped build planets, showing how dust can create ring structures in different ways. Did you know? The dust rings around planets and the Sun act like cosmic fingerprints, revealing how dust moves, how planets influence their surroundings, and what the early solar system looked like, all from tiny grains of space dust that have been drifting for billions of years.